Hey guys, just going to do a wee background video. Basically, kind of throwing it back to how I get into bodybuilding and basically how I got to where I am today. There's new and old followers and different people asking different questions, So I never ever covered it, So I'm going to throw it out here now, just so people get a wee insight of where I started, and where I'm at today. So basically, I started lifting weights when I was 21. I didn't start when I was 16 or anything like that. I started at a very young age. I would have I was 21. I was always playing football. So football was basically my sport. I was very, very skinny. Now, I was 9.5 stone. At 5'10", 9.5 stone. Like I was just a stringy bean, a string bean. Like, there was no muscle on me at all. I was so skinny. But started training, joined up a pro gym, Big Dave Fox gym. Now, at that time, Pro Gym was bouncing. Dave Fox himself would have been in his prime. He would have been at his peak. Huge man. And everybody in there was basically huge bodybuilders. Everybody was competing. There was a great buzz about the place. And then there was me, this wee skinny dude, coming into the gym, looking to learn and try and get a bit of muscle on. So I was probably, back then, the skinniest person in the gym. But as daunting as it was, I knew that was the place I needed to be to basically add the muscle and get the knowledge to basically be able to do that. So from a young enough age, I knew I needed to surround myself by certain people to progress. So a few years passed in Pro Gym, and basically there was talks of shows and different things. People asking would I compete. I think I was training for about 4 or 5 years before I even thought about it, and then I had that shape and I had a bit of size on me then, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. So 14-week prep, prepped into the show. Diet very very basic. There was no cheat meals. There was no fancy foods. It was literally plain food, and it worked. I did get shredded. I didn't do any cardio for that prep. The very first prep, food was just low. Knowledge was very minimal, and went into the show and I won. So once I won that show, I was basically addicted. And then the plan was then moving forward was basically let's see how far we can push this. That was the mindset. It was always let's see how good I could get. And that was always in my mind. I was always pushing and fighting against myself. I wasn't worried about anybody else at that time. There was loads of people who's better than me. I was just this wee small fish thinking, right, you know what, let's see how good you can get. And I basically kept pushing. PCA, we did PCA novice. Because I won the first timers, I had to move up to novice. We won the novice. Because you won the novice, and obviously you go up to class 2. So I went into NABA, Mr. Class 2, won that. And then basically to date, we won the PCA class 2 as well, and then we won the PCA overall. Couple of weeks after that, we came fourth in the NABA Worlds, which was my first time stepping on an international stage. To come fourth was a big achievement for me. Now that's basically the successes. There has obviously been failures along the way. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. I've lost shows. I've placed in the top 3 in nearly every show I've done. But there was seconds and there was thirds in there. And for me, them seconds and them thirds really bugged me. The people that beat me was better, but they really drove me on. They basically make sure it wouldn't happen again. And the thing is, you're never guaranteed a win. But for me, when you get them losses and you feel what them losses feel like after a lot of work, it really drives you on. So that was my driving force. I was thinking to myself, Brian, you ain't coming back here next year to come second or come third. You're going to win. And my last season in 2019, there was only one thing was in my mind the whole time. Every cardio session, every training session was, I'm going to be last man standing. I'm going to bust my ass, and that is my goal. Last man standing. Went into the PCA area show. Now that PCA area show, there was a lot of seasoned guys there. There was top 3 universe guys there. It was a stacked lineup. And to be last man standing on that stage, to this day, that feeling will never be replicated. It really, it's hard to describe, but it just made me feel like that was me. Basically, I'm a bodybuilder now. That's the way I felt. I was justifying to myself, saying, Brian, you actually are a half decent bodybuilder here, because you're never satisfied. We did the Worlds 3 weeks later. and I wasn't actually planning on doing the Worlds, but we jumped into the Worlds. We did that. We came fourth. So again, that gave me more confidence moving forward. Now a week after the Worlds, we were on holidays with the family holiday, and of course, I was playing football. A guy decided to tackle me, and my two knees snapped. So I snapped my two patella tendons clean off. It was horrific. It was really, really was horrific. You know, the only thing was going through my mind. I was lying there. I remember lying there in the heat, and I was just thinking, Brian, you're done. You're done, man. You're washed up. Hey. Whatever you've done here, you've wrecked yourself. You know, when I looked down at my two knees was basically up halfway up my legs, and I just thought, right, that's it. This is it. You know. Anyway, took away to hospital. Plaster parts the two legs. Says you have to go home for surgery. Next day, flight booked. Way home for surgery. Had to leave the family in Portugal. Go home and get surgery on the two knees. So that for me was a very, very hard. It was a very hard time in my life. You know, obviously physically and mentally. You know, and to leave the family in Portugal, it just wasn't nice. It wasn't nice at all. And I was lying in a hospital bed back in Ireland here, and they were in Portugal still. They couldn't get flights. The flights were completely booked out, so it wasn't nice. But anyway, got the surgery done. Um, Chatted with Rachel when she came back, and I was just saying, going, like, what am I going to do? And she just says, you know what, like they'll be fixed. They're going to be fixed. You know, when the surgeon basically told me, there's about a year recovery, and you could get back. There's no reason why you can't get back to walking properly, doing things properly, but he couldn't guarantee me that I'll go back bodybuilding, basically get the muscle. He says the hardest thing is to get that muscle back. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? If I can go back walking properly, if I can run properly, then why can I not bodybuild? So I had in my head from day one. The first day after surgery, I had in my head, I'm saying, I'm going to come back from this. I am not letting this beat me. And basically, from that day, from the very day, I did everything I could in my power to basically make this recovery a success. And to this day now, the muscle is back on the legs. It's basically just over a year. The muscle's back on the legs. The legs are back. The physique's kind of looking balanced. And the plan is to come back and defend the titles. So um, I'm never going to use this injury as an excuse when I go on stage. I don't want to be judged as it being an excuse. It was a horrific injury. Um, you know, but and the two knees obviously was snapped off the bone, so you're immediately at a disadvantage. But the muscle's back on the legs, so for me, there'll be no excuses ever made. I'll never use this as an excuse. Oh well, I've got snapped legs, blah 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 blah. I'm going back to stand there and bring the best package I can bring. So there's been a lot of adversity along the way. In 2019 as well, I started up my coaching business. Basically, I held off for years. I obsessed over the sport for years, gaining the knowledge, working with top coaches, being surrounded by top people, IFBB pros, a lot of top guys, sucking in information, researching, really, really OCD and researching. Couldn't get enough research about the sport. And it was only in 2019 I basically thought to myself, right, it's time now to basically start offloading some of this information and I can help people. I was confident in my approach, and I was confident I could help people. So started up the online coaching, and basically from there it's just basically taken off. I pride myself on the support that I give, the experience that I have, and I'm very, very, very confident in my approach, basically for lifestyle, competition prep. Um, I'm very, very confident in my abilities and my approach, and it's been proven time and time again. If anybody wants to look at any results, it's on my website, www.prepbywarrior.co.uk, or just look on my Insta feed. Coaching for me now, my goal is to rise to the top. Like I want to be known as one of the top coaches in Ireland and one of the top coaches in the UK, and I think I do have the ability and I do have the knowledge. You know, obviously we're always learning. I have a coach myself, Big Jamie Joe Hill, the Giant. I don't think I need to introduce him, so everybody kind of knows the Giant. You know, the knowledge I've been gaining off him through the years has been next to none as well. You know, and then the experience for me when it comes to coaching. Anything can be wrote on paper, anything can be written in a book. It all comes down to experience, how you react in certain situations that basically really makes you stand out. And another thing I do pride myself on is obviously the communication I have with my clients. So the coaching for me is going to be a big one that I'm going to be pushing. But that's it in a nutshell. Basically, from a 9.5 stone, I've basically added what, 8 stone of muscle, 8 stone of muscle in the space of, it's been 10 years. It's been, no, it's over 10 years. It's actually 12 years. So obviously the first few years you're only finding your feet, um, but there's a lot of experience there and a lot of lessons learned over the years. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had more surgeries than I would want to have, but we're still here. And for me now, I feel with the experience that I have, they did, and basically, I feel now that I'm only starting. As cheesy as it sounds and as corny as it sounds, the connection I have now with my muscle, the knowledge that I have, I feel like the levels are just starting now. The gears are just starting. So, the next few years will be interesting to see. I have goals set in my own head what I want to achieve, and we'll see what happens if I can get that. But I think I've rambled on enough. So, anybody's any questions or anything they want to, if they have injuries, whatever, if they can relate the story in any way, feel free to hit me up in the DM.